But I know what you actually mean by your question, and the answer is that would suck.
All things theology. We chop it up properly without an apology. Gotta give doxology to God hollow, because this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Yo, grace and peace, guys. Welcome to another episode of All Things Theology. I'm your host, Kdub, and today I want to talk about Abraham Piper's TikToks. But before we get there, make sure you're liking this video, leave a comment if you have any questions, and as always, subscribe to the channel. If you've been following my channel for any time, you've seen that I've responded to Abraham Piper's TikTok videos in the past, and today I want to provide a response as well. So let's get into it.
Oh, hey, there's no such thing as sin. I tweeted this a couple days ago, and I knew people would disagree. I mean, what's Twitter for if not poking the bear? But what surprised me is that some people interpreted me to mean that there's no such thing as doing wrong or evil. One person was like, someone steal his wallet.
Well, to be fair and consistent, I think that's the position he would have to hold, because he's coming from things he said in the past, and I'll make sure to play that as well. He said things like, there is no ultimate meaning.
Had a meaning, your life would be pointless. 3 reasons. 1, being aware of an ultimate meaning would be a fucking spoiler. We'd know the whole point. Life would be like watching a game you recorded to watch later, but then you accidentally found out who won. Pointless. 2, if there's a known ultimate meaning, then we all have a moral obligation to make our life about that thing. This is where religions come from. It is the one meaning of the universe, after all. And if we all must do one thing, we're tools, cogs, pawns, pick your metaphor. And what does that make life? Pointless. Is it even possible for the universe to have a meaning? For anything to matter, we have to matter to ourselves first. And if we all matter to ourselves, then there can't be one single ultimate meaning. Here's a simple question to explore all this. Is it okay to not live for the ultimate meaning in the universe? If yes, then it's not ultimate. It's alongside whatever I choose to be about instead. If no, then what motivates me? Every promise or threat that could possibly be made to motivate us to care about ultimate meaning proves that it doesn't exist. Because the only way to motivate us is with our own personal desires outside of that ultimate meaning. For instance, threatening hell for not believing in the Christian God proves that it's our own fear of pain that motivates us.
And how can there be ultimate meaning, but we have ultimate morality? So I would like to actually challenge, for a matter of consistency. I'm thankful he believes things are wrong, and he acts like there's objectivity. He said there's things, if there's such thing as meaning, ultimate meaning, then that really kind of takes the fun out of life and not knowing, and it really doesn't have any purpose if you know it, right? Like what's the fun out of that? It's, the essential crux he's trying to argue. So why can't one argue the same thing for objective evil or ultimate evil? How can you have, from his logic, from his framework, actual evil taking place, you know what I mean, given that there is no ultimate purpose or ultimate meaning? So it's a matter of consistency. I would like to argue with him.
Like, because I don't believe in sin, I think stealing is okay. To me, sin and evil are very different. A fairly common understanding of the word sin is that it's a breaking of the divine law, going against God. I don't believe that there is a divine law in the way that you would typically expect someone to interpret that phrase, so I don't think there's sin. It's not a hot take. It's pretty mundane, actually. It has nothing to do with evil. What makes me uncomfortable is equating evil and sin, because it takes the horrendous things that we do to each other and it makes them about God and not about making things right with fellow humans.
Oh, okay. So making things right. Again, let me give more pushback. Why is something wrong? Okay, you may say, well, it harms our neighbor. Okay, well, that only kicks the can further back. Why is that? Why is harming your neighbor wrong? And if ultimate meaning, as he's described in his videos, is ultimately about the individual purpose and not, everyone else, then how can you actually call something evil or wrong or even right?
We are the most fundamental things that matter to ourselves. Even if we choose to behave that something else is more valuable than us, we're doing it because it's what we feel like doing. So we're still what matters most to ourselves. And there can't be one ultimate meaning if we're all our own meaning.
As I've said before, in the atheist framework, you don't have actual objective evil. What you have is different flavors of morality, and in this analogy, different flavors of ice cream. Someone may like chocolate, but it's not wrong to like vanilla. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but I can't call it wrong. I can't call it evil, and that's what you have in the atheism, So, yeah.
The people who disagreed with me have a different definition of sin because, words can mean multiple things. And perhaps they use sin to mean mistreating others. In which case, oh hey, there's such a thing as sin.
Abraham, what if they use sin to describe what they do as what you would call evil, but they say no, it's actually good. Who's the one to determine over those arbiter opinions? Another person? Like, and then how does that person become the authority? So I'm not really sure you've thought about your atheistic framework as in depth as you maybe like to think you have, or because he posts a lot of videos dunking on Christianity. He thinks they're dunks. They're actually 2-foot rim, I guess. I guess or it's easy to dunk when no one's in the room. So I'll say that. Yeah, you're dunking, but there's no one's in the room, so it's not really too hard. There's no objections. But he posts a lot of videos as well about philosophy and other things, and he's bright. I'll give him that, educated. But I don't know if he's thought about this issue as well as he's likes to think he has.
Such a thing as sin.
By some definitions.
And so his son comes in the area, and this talks about sin. And so let's get on to that, because after this, he actually made a video about, I guess someone asked the question, what about your son going to church and becoming a Christian? How would you feel about that? And so he actually responds to that. And so, like, wow,
what would you think if one of your kids started going to church?
How do you know they don't? I'm not my kids. My family isn't me. They can go to church if they want to. I don't go to church for personal reasons.
Well, I guess if you're taking if your kids would be going, it would kind of be assumed that you're actually taking them there, unless you're letting them get in rides or you're making them walk. So I think that's what they're talking about. But notice why he gives his answer on this. I found it very interesting.
My kids don't have the same life as me that would create personal reasons like I have to not go to church.
So that kind of gets back to what we were talking about, objectivity, like when it comes to truth. Now, things like epistemology. And so this kind of says, well, hey, whether Christianity is true or false kind of is based on your experiences. So I guess you can just create the experiences for him that would make it lead false. What would be immoral about that? What would be right or wrong about that? See, this is actually the danger of postmodernism. He seems to have a very postmodern worldview now, ideology. Now that he's rejected Christianity, there is no objective standard of right and wrong or oughts in his worldview. Though he would say that, but I think if you pressed him hard enough, he would say things like, well, there is no objective truth and things like that. And so I guess from his perspective, going to church or not going to church, or becoming a Christian and not becoming a Christian, is just as purposeless, giving his purposeless worldview.
So if they're going to go or not go, it's going to be from their own experience and their own motivation.
Or it's because it's true. Like, why does the standard have to be experience? And don't get me wrong, we do experience the truth. We do experience life. But whether, someone goes to church or not should not be based upon, well, it just felt right. It just, I related to it so well. That doesn't make anything true or not. And so, but that's the actual worldview he's positing.
Obviously, I don't believe in indoctrinating children, but at the same time, that's a really sticky, difficult question, because you do have to teach them, and you're not going to teach them every option for everything. So
he actually makes a good point here, because even this atheist recognizes this sticky issue with indoctrination. Indoctrination, the term has become a muddy term, as like brainwash. That's kind of what most people think it of as. But no, you're just teaching, when it comes to your children, you're teaching them the principles you believe are to be true and hold to. And so atheists indoctrinate as well. Everybody indoctrinates. If you're teaching someone, if you're teaching your children, you're indoctrinating them. You're teaching them your principles, your morals, your values, things like that. And so he's right. He's absolutely right. You're not just going to teach them all these things and leave it up to them on many things. You're going to say, hey, son, daughter, do this and don't do that on many issues. And so you're going to give them oughts and things they should do. And so I agree with him, although we would practically it would look different in our households. He's absolutely right with this point about indoctrination.
Indoctrination sort of comes down to a matter of opinion, and it gets complicated.
And that's where we disagree too. But watch this statement.
But I know what you actually mean by your question, and the answer is that would suck.
They can go to church, they're free to do, but it would suck if they became a Christian. But why? If the world is purposeless, there is no true ultimate meaning. Why would it suck? Just some thoughts I have for Abraham Piper, the son of John Piper. Maybe one day he'll watch this video. Maybe he'll want to engage with me. Who knows? You never know. In a purposeless, random universe, anything can happen. Till the next time, guys, grace and peace.